All right, this system is brand new, LabQuest 2. This is the user manual here. Let me scroll down.
Yeah, we're going to use the graph. We're going to plot this one. Every 1 minute, we're going to do
So the power button, touch screen, hardware key, sensor port, internal sensor. We have the LabQuest app, navigating that data collection, data analysis. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and jump straight to data collection here. Data collection with LabQuest starts from the meter screen, which is the default screen for the LabQuest. We're on the meter screen right now. We see what, this is a different probe they have on here. This is a probe showing force here, but we have the temperature probes in here, and we have 2 of them, so you can see both of them. You can view sensor meters in real time as well. Actually, are you viewing in real time? You have a real-time temperature output, right? Okay, that's good. Digital meters for connected sensors is shown on the screen. Tap on a meter to change the sensor settings. And so let's tap on a meter and change the sensor settings. So what can we do? We can change it to Kelvin. Right?
Wait, can you say that again?
Tap on the sensor reading the digital output. Tap on that and see what options you have. What options do you have? Change units.
Wait, just tap on
Just tap on the temperature, anywhere on the temperature. Tap on that. Do you see we can change the units?
Yeah.
Right now it's 71.3 degrees Fahrenheit in this room. What's a Kelvin temperature? So
296.2.
okay, so we can, what are we going to use? We're going to use degrees C.
We're going to use degrees?
Yes, we'll use degrees C. These options can also be accessed from the sensors menu, but we don't have any calibrate. There are other options. Sometimes when you tap on it, we can change the units. Yes, we can. We can calibrate. No, we can't. These are fixed calibration. We can zero it. We can reverse the sensor, etc. All right, so let's go down here, and then we're going to take a look at the data collection summary. There are different modes of data collection, depending on the experiment. And so the mode we're going to be using is time, and we're going to have a regular interval, but they also have trigger mode, other types of modes. The rate. The rate is the frequency that you're sampling. How often, for example, this real time, how often is it taking a reading, do you think? Continuously, or every millisecond, or what do you think? Well, it's some high rate. It's not sampling continuously. It can't sample every microsecond or every nanosecond or every femtosecond, right? It's too fast. The clock speed on this is too slow, right? And so we have a sampling rate. The more data you collect, the bigger the data file. And so sometimes you want high resolution. You want to sample as fast as possible, whatever the speed of this is, right? Mm-hmm. But then you're going to be collecting enormous data sets, and sometimes that's not so necessary. We're actually sampling this at a very slow rate. How often are we collecting data?
Every 1 minute.
Every 1 minute. This thing can sample, hundreds or thousands of times a second, And here we are only sampling once a minute. That's not much. The reason is, and I might change this experiment in the future, but the reason is because we used to read thermometers. Back in the old days, we'd hang the thermometers with a copper wire on these stands and just put them in there and then try to read the meniscus as the experiment was progressing. But, it's something we could fall back on, but it was a pain. This is much easier. All right, in the panel. For most sensors, the default data collection mode is time-based. Well, good for us because we need time-based every 1 minute, right? So we don't have to change the default. The default collection rate for the connected sensor is automatically set up when LabQuest identifies the sensor. I don't know what the default collection rate for this sensor is, but it's got to be, many per second. To modify the data collection settings, tap the summary box. Okay, let's try to find the summary box. The summary box is going to be located at the top. And so it's going to be one of these little buttons at the top. So why don't you explore and see what the buttons do. Let's take a look at the left button. The left button tells us we're on the meter screen at the top left. Do you see that? And so we're just getting real-time output. If you look at File, do you see File? Sensors? Okay, hit Sensors.
Which one?
Third one from the top left. File, do you have this?
Are you looking at like that?
Yeah. Do you have File, Sensors?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If you touch File, what happens? New, open, save, delete, email, export, print, settings, quit. So it's basically what you see on a computer. If you hit Sensors, what do you see? You see data collection, right? So let's cancel out of that. Let's try to find the summary box.
Where's this?
You're right.
Yeah, where it says mode, right? Okay, got it.
Mode, rate, duration is the summary box. It's a summary of the data collection experiment. Alternatively, you can choose data collection from sensors menu. So if you tap on the sensors menu, you can also go to data collection. You'll get the same pop-up menu. For detailed descriptions of data collection modes and parameters, see data collection settings. Do we need that? Well, let's see what we need to enter.
1 minute?
Mode, time-based. What are the other options? Events with entry, selected events, photo gate, timing, full spectrum, gas chromatograph, drop counting, data matrix. And so we're going to stick with time-based. That's what we want. Okay, the rate. How many samples per second do we want to take?
We want 1 every 60 seconds.
160?
Yeah, that's hard. The rate is going to be not even 1 sample per second, which is unusual. The rate is going to be 1/60th. So what is 1/60th? So when you tap on that, we're going to enter it in there. 1 divided by 60 is 0.0166. Repeating sixes. So what we're going to do is we're just going to enter it in. If we could divide, that would be the easiest. Or can we change the sample?
I changed it to minutes.
Okay.
I put 60 seconds, every 60 seconds.
Okay.
What's the interval?
For the duration or the interval?
2 samples per second. Okay, the interval, how many seconds per sample?
60 seconds?
Okay. Duration.
60 seconds?
All right, let's do 180. Now let's try it.
Wait, what? What are we doing?
What's the rate?
Okay, what are we doing? We're just
I'm there.
trying to figure out how to use this. That's what we're doing. So what? Okay, this is what you're going to find. What you're going to find is this one automatically allows you to determine samples per second or the interval. It's the same thing. Do you know it's the same thing? It depends on what's easier to do. So let's say if we collect 2 samples per second. what is the interval between, if we take 2 samples per second, what is the interval between? The 0.5. So every 0.5 seconds, we take a measurement. And if we do that, then that gives us two data points per second. And so we have what's called the sampling frequency here, and we have something called the dwell time here. And so you can set either. We can set the dwell time to collect a certain, every half a second. Every half a second means we collect 2 samples a second, right? What if we set the dwell time to 1 second? Then how many samples would we collect? 1 sample per second. Let's say we set the dwell time to 60 seconds. Then how many samples per second? It should come out to 0.0166 bar, right? And so what's easier for us? Is it easier to set the samples per second? Sometimes it is. Or is it easier for us to set the dwell time or the interval between data? The interval for us, because we aren't collecting much data. It's unusual. You know, sometimes it's a lot easier just to set the sampling frequency. And so let's take a look at this. Why don't you go and hit the interval and change the interval to 60 seconds per sample. And then what does the sampling frequency tell you? 0.01667. And so let's do a quick test. We're going to collect, let's collect 120 minutes worth of data. Well, not 120 minutes, that'd take too long. Let's collect 120 seconds worth of data, or 2 minutes.
That's under duration, right?
Yeah, duration. Okay, so now,
120?
now look at, we're going to have 120 seconds of data collection with a sampling interval of 60 seconds. How many samples are we going to collect? 3. 1 at time 0, 1 at time 60, and 1 at time 120. And so let's hit OK. Okay, and then do you see the little play button? All right, do it, and then see what we come up with.
That's crazy.
You should take 2 minutes. It's going to take a while, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, let's stop this one because this is going to take too long. 2 minutes is going to take too long. Let's increase the sampling rate. This is just a test to make sure it's working.
Where do we go? We go
Let's go back to either file. I mean, not file, but
the box.
the box. Yeah, hit the meter.
So we put last 100 or 80 seconds? 10 seconds. So what would be the duration?
No, why don't you go ahead and you pick whatever you want.
Okay, I'm gonna put 10.
Maybe sample 10 temperatures per second or 2 temperatures per second, and then see what it looks like.
Wait, so what do you...
You know, if you're I'm having trouble clicking the boxes, but do you guys know there's a stylus here?
Yeah.
And so use the stylus, it'll probably be a lot easier to get you back to.
Would it graph immediately or would it take...
It takes the duration.
You'll graph.
So it graphs at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, it graphs.
It'll graph while you're watching it.
It's not doing
So
it.
like...
Well, if your interval is like really long, then you're not going to see it until intervals.
So I'm going to sample every 1 second.
Oh, so we have to change the interval, right?
Yeah, and the duration, I'm going to just collect maybe 10 seconds because I don't want to wait around too long.
Hey, let me get your Wi-Fi route.
All right, now it's working.
Yeah.
You see, if you collect maybe one sample per second and go 10 seconds, you'll get 10 data points, and then it graphs it. Do you see that?
So every 60 seconds you would count them. So like once you hit 1 minute, then we're actually going to record those ones.
Yeah, you have to wait for 1 minute to see the first data point, which is an eternity right now. So
This is how
that's it. All right, now what we want to do is we want to either save this data, which we should, and then we want to look up the data table.
How do we save it?
File.
We put file, graph, analyze. What do we click on to save it?
File save. File save. Then name it something. Just in the name box, just type in some name. T. Save. All right, then we could take a look at the data here. If you hit the little data table, the XY data table, you can see the data points. You know, we could transfer the data to a computer or to your phone or whatever, but we aren't going to do that. Since we're only collecting 15 data points per probe, that's 30 temperatures, we're going to write them in by hand. So you're going to copy them from the table into your notebook.
How do we access the table once we save it?
Okay.
You hit the XY button at the top. Okay, are you guys good? All right, somebody turn on their hot plate. We're going to take a break, but before you go on break, throw a beaker of water, DI water, on the hot plate. How much water? Depends. Not 50. All right. How is it that you save? All right. Let's say the experiment's run. You can go to File, and then Save it, and then just name it something. All right. Who needs help?
So for the actual data recording, we're going to do 60 seconds.